We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad.
After many months of being disrespected by Stephen A. Smith, Bronny has finally had enough. He called him out directly during a live session on Instagram.
Bronny has finally snapped and called him out directly on IG Live.
Listen up, motherfucker.
But the most shocking part? He brought up something from Stephen A.'s past that no one saw coming. I have all the details, let's break it down. Welcome to the Powder Cave. How a father's love sparked one of the biggest media wars in basketball. The basketball world is buzzing after Bronny James confronted Stephen A. Smith in a now viral moment. Prior to this, Bronny had responded indirectly on social media, like the Instagram post showing a photo with LeBron and a caption clearly aimed at Smith, "Bro speaking on ball and never touched a court." While not direct shots, the message was obvious. Bronny had been listening, and he had something to say. But to fully grasp why this moment is blowing up, we need to go back and understand the events that led to this point. Bronny James did not enter the NBA spotlight based solely on his own achievements. His presence was magnified by an unprecedented statement from his father. In February 2022, LeBron publicly declared that Bronny was better than some NBA players and that he would only play for the team that drafted his son. This was more than just a father's pride, it was a seismic shift in NBA culture, where the league's biggest star could influence team strategy based on personal desires. The whispers began, was this nepotism? Was it fair to other players? Those whispers remained low until Bronny's early NBA performances painted a picture that even neutral observers could not ignore. In his first 13 NBA games, Bronny averaged just 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds, shooting 1-4-16 from the field and 0-4-7 from three-point range. Then came Stephen A. Smith, ESPN's most outspoken personality, known for saying what others would not. Smith watched the situation unfold not with concern for LeBron's legacy or the Lakers' season, but with concern for a young man caught in a situation beyond his control. The breaking point came on January 29, 2025, after Bronny played over 15 minutes against the Philadelphia 76ers without scoring a single point. The next day, Smith delivered what would become the most talked about sports commentary of the year.
For the record, his agent and friend Rich Paul has my number. Maverick Carter, who works under him, has my number. LeBron James knows how to get in contact with me if he wanted to. He never called, because had he called and wanted to talk to me, I would have accepted that call.
But Smith did not stop there. With the passion of a man who genuinely cared about the sport he had covered for decades, he continued his plea, drawing a comparison to one of boxing's most heartbreaking stories. He likened Bronny's situation to that of Marvis Frazier, son of boxing legend Joe Frazier, who faced similar pressure and public scrutiny that overshadowed his own achievements. "This is what's happening to your son right now," Smith said, his voice heavy with emotion. He had seen too many young careers derailed by expectations beyond their control. It was hard to watch. The reaction was immediate and divisive. Social media lit up, some praised Smith for his honesty, while others accused him of going too far by targeting a child. But most telling was the silence. Silence from the Lakers. Silence from LeBron's camp. Silence from LeBron himself. But that silence was misleading. Behind the scenes, the pressure was building. LeBron was growing increasingly frustrated, not only with Smith's words, but with the broader narrative suggesting his son was being used as a pawn in a debate about merit, fairness, and the soul of professional basketball. That pressure exploded on March 6, 2025, during what should have been a routine Lakers game against the New York Knicks at Crypto.com Arena. Smith was sitting courtside, as he often did, joined by entertainment mogul Ari Emanuel and comedy legend Larry David. It was a normal scene until it became the setting for one of the most dramatic confrontations in sports media history. During a break in play, LeBron James, no longer the basketball icon, but simply a father, walked directly towards Smith with a look of fierce determination. A fan captured the moment on video, and it instantly went viral. Through lip reading and later reports, the message was unmistakable: "Stop talking about my son. Keep my son out of this." The fallout was swift and intense. Some applauded LeBron for defending his son. Others criticized him for confronting Smith so publicly. ESPN had to respond. Smith's agents and bosses got involved. The moment dominated basketball discourse. Later, Smith acknowledged the complexity of the situation, stating, "This admission revealed the heart of the conflict." He understood LeBron's role as a father, but also felt a duty to speak truthfully about a troubling situation. It was a clash where the professional became personal.
We had that conversation. I would have said to LeBron James, I never would speak negatively about your son. I was talking about you, meaning you, LeBron James.
This admission revealed the true heart of the conflict. Smith recognized LeBron's instincts as a father but maintained that his responsibility as a journalist required honesty. This was the moment where professional integrity collided with personal emotions. The courtside confrontation should have ended the story. Normally, a heated exchange during a timeout would fade into basketball lore, but this one did not. Instead, both sides retreated into silence, but it was a calculated silence. Behind the scenes, a carefully planned media strategy was forming, exposing how modern sports discourse blends genuine emotion with strategic messaging. Smith responded the next day on First Take, trying to de-escalate the situation with a calm, diplomatic tone. But even in that measured response, his frustration was apparent.
I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his...
Smith's response revealed his first major miscalculation. He approached the situation as a professional disagreement, while LeBron was operating from a deeply personal and emotional place. Smith continued to emphasize journalistic responsibility, but failed to recognize that LeBron had already taken the fight to a different arena: public emotion and perception. Smith's biggest mistake came when he tried to explain his original comments in a detailed, almost clinical way, breaking down what he had said about Bronny versus what he had said about LeBron.
Impressed, okay? This is the big picture here that I want to bring up. I might have been wrong. Are you listening, LeBron James? Are you listening, James family? Are you listening, Rich Paul? Are you listening, all of you people? Because here's my position. My position was all along, Bronny James needed to be in the G League. Put him in the G League, let him be in the G League his first year, and then after that, let him come on, because I've always believed that this kid has the potential, once I watched him, to be in the NBA. But what I saw last night made me say to myself, wait a minute.
Smith's key argument was that his criticism was directed at LeBron as a father and decision-maker, not at Bronny as a player. That distinction became the core of their feud. But while Smith was drawing fine lines and making logical points, LeBron was playing a completely different game, one that required silence, timing, and strategy. Weeks went by. LeBron said nothing. He allowed the story to evolve while watching how Smith handled it. Meanwhile, Bronny's performance improved, especially in the G League, where he averaged over 20 points per game. Then came the breakthrough. On March 20, 2025, Bronny delivered his best NBA game, scoring 17 points with 5 assists against the Milwaukee Bucks. The performance was undeniable, and even Stephen A. had to acknowledge it.
James decides who really, outside of his crew, doesn't really have any friends in the media. Suddenly, he's going to be in Indianapolis, drive into the country, and go and do a show that comes on immediately after First Take. Clearly, they were looking at it, and they used the upcoming Mind Your Game podcast with Steve Nash to disguise what his real agenda was, which was to address me. Because he continues to lie to the world about what I said and who I was pointing the finger.
This was media warfare at its peak. LeBron shifted the narrative, suggesting Smith was capitalizing on the controversy for fame. His Taylor Swift tour run jab was brutal. It implied Smith's appearances were driven by ego, not integrity. And Smith felt it deeply. He responded with a 52-minute YouTube video where he revealed how personally he had taken the situation. He even said that if LeBron had physically touched him courtside, he would have retaliated. This feud had now become personal. On Gil's Arena podcast, Smith escalated again, calling LeBron's approach weak, saying the confrontation was more about drama than resolution. The contradiction was clear. Smith respected LeBron as a father, but loathed his methods. Then, LeBron appeared on First Take's rival show right after First Take ended, an obvious, calculated insult. LeBron's strategy was now undeniable, but the true spotlight belonged to Bronny. Quietly, he became the most composed figure in the entire saga. In a rare interview, he said, "I just try to let it go through one ear and out the other. Keep my head down, be positive, and work." That maturity stunned many. His routine was intense, waking at 8 a.m., hitting film study, workouts, therapy. Then, he addressed the perception that had stung the most, that he was emotionless. "People think I'm a robot, like I don't feel anything," Bronny said. That vulnerability made him human again. He was stuck between being strong enough to handle hate and young enough to need protection, and the basketball world began rallying behind him.
Got personal, LeBron. He's lying when he says that I attacked his son. When he came up to me courtside at the Lakers-Knicks game, he was lying then. He threw me off guard because he said, you can't be pooping on my son because we over.
Dwayne Wade, a three-time NBA champion and former teammate of LeBron James, appeared on the Today Show to defend Bronny against critics. None of them can beat him in basketball, Wade stated emphatically. They have not seen Bronny James wake up at 5 a.m. every day to chase his dream. His defense carried weight because Wade had experienced both the spotlight of stardom and the challenges Bronny faced behind the scenes. Similarly, Kian Anthony, son of NBA star Carmelo Anthony, shared his support for Bronny during a podcast with his father. I kind of felt bad for him, cause that's my guy, Kian said. Behind closed doors, he probably was really going through it. He's nice, that boy. This support from fellow second-generation athletes highlighted a key element that had been overlooked. Bronny was not the first player to be questioned because of his last name, and he would not be the last. The NBA has a long history of family ties across coaching staffs, front offices, and ownership. While the support was meaningful, Bronny's real validation came through his game. His G League stats were solid: 17.4 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game. These numbers were not just data, they were proof that Bronny could compete professionally when given a proper chance to grow. His career-high 39-point game on March 24, 2025, with 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 1 block, was a moment of undeniable progress. After the performance, Bronny summed up his mindset perfectly: just that I belong out there. That's all I'm trying to prove. That simple statement carried weight. He was not trying to argue or defend his father, he was just trying to earn his spot. Ironically, as LeBron and Smith traded media jabs, Bronny was doing exactly what they both said they wanted: putting in the work, improving, and proving himself through performance. Even Stephen A. Smith had to acknowledge Bronny's growth, especially after the Milwaukee Bucks game. His reluctant admission that he might have been wrong spoke volumes. Not because it ended the feud, but because it separated basketball facts from personal grudges.
When talking about the Lakers, that's about LeBron, not Bronny. Bronny wanted to get drafted by any NBA team. He wanted to hear his name. It was LeBron that wanted him as his teammate. What I'm saying to you is, if LeBron had rolled up on me, all he had to say, because I said this to Rich Paul when Rich Paul called me, if you had called me and said, Bron pissed off, he wants to see you man to man, I said, what would I have done? Rich Paul said, you'd have hung up the phone, you'd flew to LA. I said, thank you.
Smith's next response showed how frustrated he had become with what he saw as LeBron's manipulative media campaign. His accusation that LeBron was lying about their original disagreement marked a new low in their relationship. Smith's original criticism may have started as honest sports commentary, but by now, the feud had taken on a life of its own, transforming into something personal, bitter, and strategic. In the age of 24/7 coverage and viral moments, what began as professional analysis became a case study in how quickly things escalate in modern sports media. Smith's fiery monologue on First Take reflected the deep sense of betrayal and character assassination he believed he was facing.
Son is a professional basketball player playing a professional sport. He don't need his daddy to jump in and save him. So the same way you told your mother, LeBron, sit your ass down, you know what, LeBron? You need to sit yours down. Stephen A. was doing his job. Nepotism is why your son is in the league. And that's what Stephen A. was pointing out. We know that your son don't deserve that.
This final confrontation summed up the entire saga: two powerful individuals, speaking from entirely different perspectives, neither willing to back down or see the other side. But the most surprising outcome of this controversy was not in the heat of their exchange, it was in how Bronny James rose above it. With calm and maturity, he kept his head down, stayed focused on growth, and let his game speak louder than any headline. When we talk about the Lakers, that's about LeBron, not Bronny, Smith said in reflection. Bronny just wanted to be drafted, he wanted to hear his name called. LeBron wanted to play with his son. Smith continued, if LeBron had reached out, or if Rich Paul had just called and said, LeBron wants to talk, man-to-man, I would have been on the next flight to LA. I told that to Rich myself. This clip revealed that Smith felt the confrontation was avoidable, and that there were private channels that could have resolved the issue. As things continued to unfold, more voices joined in. Comedian and sports commentator Aries Spears sharply criticized LeBron, calling him a hypocrite, pointing out how LeBron once told his own mother to sit down during a courtside outburst early in his career. Spears' comments added more complexity to the discussion, highlighting that valid arguments existed on both sides. Ultimately, the conflict found resolution not through a dramatic showdown or final media appearance, but through quiet, steady evidence, Bronny James belonged in the NBA. As he kept improving, the focus shifted from nepotism to development. In April 2025, former NBA All-Star Carmelo Anthony said, "In a couple years, Bronny is going to be a real NBA player. Like a real solid one." That endorsement mattered. Throughout it all, Bronny, who never asked to be in this media storm, handled himself with grace and professionalism. His response was not dramatic, but it was powerful. Work hard, grow every day, and let your game do the talking. While the feud between LeBron and Stephen A. may resurface from time to time, the true story was Bronny's emergence, not as a perfect player, but as a young man who chose dignity over drama, growth over ego, and professionalism over pettiness. In a world obsessed with controversy, Bronny James reminded us that the best response is sometimes the quietest. Keep grinding, keep improving, and prove you belong, not through words, but through actions. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.